I love our series. As we began our year, it's sort of hard to believe that we're already on the last day of January. It went by so fast, but this series, if you were able to miss any of them, please do listen to the podcast. It's just an incredible time. It's always good for us to have a faith challenge. Our faith being challenged is always a good thing. Our faith being built up as a church is a good thing. That's always good because we have to start thinking big. I mean, not just physically, but thinking big, dreaming big, and asking big things because we have a big God that's able to answer. Right? You agree with that? And so it's been amazing just the stories that we've been hearing as we started this series and we started prayer and fasting. We have to move in audacious faith. And when we move in audacious faith, God is pleased because it shows that we trust Him. It shows that we believe Him and there's something that He's doing in our lives. And so God is pleased to answer those prayers. You want to hear some of the stories that we've had the last few weeks of audacious prayers and God's audacious answer? All right? Yesterday, I met up with some of the businessmen in my victory group, and we were just talking about how God is so faithful in all of our lives. We talked about what our dreams were when we were young. For some of us, that was much longer. Okay? But when we were thinking about it and where we are now, all of us, we all agreed. This is not where we thought we would be. This is so much further than what God has done in each of our lives. And so here are some audacious answers, not just from that group, but from what we've been hearing from the church. And if you have wonderful answers to prayer, please let us know about it. Because we'd love to share, and it continues to build us up. There's a married couple now for 2 years. And they've been praying to have a child. Ay, 2 years, parang kami nga, 15 years, merong 10 years, merong tagal, 2 years, but now they're pregnant. Okay? Why is it so significant? Because for them, those 2 years were very difficult because the rest of the family, naisip lang magkakaanak sila, buntis na. But for this couple, they were really praying and interceding and nothing was happening yet. So for us, we're believing the same thing. About a year and a half ago, that's true for all of our staff, all of our married staff here at church. Ngayon, wala yatang married staff na hindi buntis, except for my wife. Okay? Except for my wife. Just reminding everyone. But everyone's getting pregnant. It's an answer and a move of God. And some of them were having a hard time. Some of them were waiting for years. But God is faithful. God is faithful. All right? There was another woman that was praying that this year that she would be able to travel for free. Yun lang. Parang sino dito? I want to travel for free. All right? And at the end of the prayer and fasting, she goes back to work and she finds out that she was promoted. And part of the promotion was a free travel to Texas in the U.S. That was part of it. Amazing. All right? Another one, the one other girl, apparently her parents were sort of separated and things were not going well. And her audacious prayer was for her dad to apologize to the mom. Yun yung prayer niya. Sabi niya, bakit? Sure, we can apologize. You can say sorry. I mean, you don't know my dad. This is the furthest thing that he would ever do. And at the end again of the prayer and fasting, that same Sunday, her mom got a letter from the dad apologizing. And so it's in a moment of reconciliation. Di ba kayo excited? I want those things to happen to you as well. As we're believing in faith, not just during the prayer and fasting, but for the rest of the year, I want us to believe. Believe in a great God that will answer your prayers no matter how long, no matter how difficult, no matter how impossible it may seem. Our audacious faith, God will match that and beyond. 50 pounds this year. Yes. Come on. I say that every year. But I don't know. It's my audacious faith. Come on. Come on, somebody. But beyond that, Beyond just the physical. Do you know what my audacious faith is? Do you want to hear? Yes. Do you want to hear? You don't have a choice. I have the mic. Okay, I have the mic this week. All right? My audacious faith for this year is that those that have not volunteered here in this church will volunteer this year. Whatever gift that God has given you, whatever thing that God places in your heart, you will get involved. Yeah, even you. Okay? Because in the kingdom of God, we all have a part in it. I'm glad I have a part in the kingdom of God. That I'm no longer in my sin. I'm no longer in my selfishness. I'm into what God is doing in my life. And so I want you to tell the person right next to you, you have a part. Sige na, just humor me, okay? I get the pulpit once in a while. Just tell the person, you have a part. Okay? And then tell the other person on your left, you're not a spare part. Because we all have a role. If we have visitors that come here once in a while, this is not your home church, my suggestion is go back to your church and volunteer there. It will shock your pastor. If you don't like your pastor, shock him and say you want to volunteer. Okay? But if this is your home church and you're here, we can all be part of this. Let's look for opportunities for us to be a blessing. I like what Joey was saying earlier, that every day is an opportunity. And once a year, this is an opportunity that we have to invite everyone that comes. Let's be part of this church. If this is your community, if this is your church community, this is your family, we can be part. You know, Pastor Dennis has a great dream for us here in this church. He believes that in the next 5 years, our audacious faith is that from 3,000, where we are right now, will be 12,000. Bakit 12,000? Because he wants 10% of the city of San Juan. We want to have an impact in this city. Na pag nawala tayo dito, parang ano nangyari sa church na yun? Na lives being changed, impacting the city in every sector. That's his dream. And for us to be able to do that, this place is too small. Not only is this place too small, we need more volunteers. We need you to do your part. And 3 of the 30 chief men went down and came about harvest time to David at the cave of Adullam. When a band of Philistines were encamped in the valley of Rephaim, David was then in the stronghold, and the garrison of the Philistines was then at Bethlehem. And David said longingly, "Oh, that someone would give me water to drink from the well of Bethlehem that is by the gate." Then the 3 mighty men broke through the camp of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate, and carried and brought it to David. But he would not drink it. He poured it out to the Lord, say to the Lord, thank you for the 3 people, to the Lord, and said, Far be it from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Should I drink the blood of the men who went at the risk of their lives? Therefore he would not drink it. These things the 3 mighty men did. All right, so we're talking about the mighty men of David. And when we look at this and the cave of Adullam, it represents a time in David's life that was very difficult. Okay? It was a place and season of isolation, of struggles and trouble and desperate need in terms of David. What was happening here was he was escaping his father-in-law, who was King Saul. Sino dito yung may problema ka sa wag niyo na taas sa kamay. Let's move on. But that's what it was. Not only was he having problems with his father-in-law was trying to kill him. Who can relate? Again, don't lift up your hands. But this difficulty was not just for him. It was for all the men that were following him. And when these men started following him, they weren't the mighty men that we think they are and what we read in the Bible. They didn't start out that way. And many of us, we sometimes we feel, God can't use me. There's nothing significant about me. There's nothing. I have problems. I have issues. We all do. But God can still use you. And these mighty men, here's the description of them in 1 Samuel, not 1 Kings. 1 Samuel chapter 22. Okay? David departed from there and escaped to the cave of Adullam. Okay? And when his brothers and all his father's household heard it, they went down to him. And everyone who was in what? Distress. And everyone who was in what? In debt. And everyone who was bitter in soul gathered to him. And he became commander over them. And there were with him about 400 men. Distressed, in debt, bitter in soul. Another translation says that they were discontent. How did these men turn from being that way into becoming mighty men of God or mighty men of David? Sino dito sa inyo, medyo distressed kayo sa buhay? You feel like you can't volunteer because, work is so hard. I don't have time. I'm having problems with my children. This one's not obeying. This one's just obeying too much. And so there's fighting. Pastor, I don't have time. There's so many things happening in my life. And it's not all good. How can I offer something good when my life is not good? That can be very stressful. Some of us here, we prevent from volunteering and taking part because we're in debt. Pastor, I need to work Sundays. I need to work odd hours because that's the way I can provide. It's good that you provide. But there must be time for you to be used by God. And when you're used by God, there are benefits of it. For some, you're bitter in soul. And you're distressed. You're discontent with where you are. Alam mo, nag-volunteer ako dyan sa music ministry. They turned me down. They turned me down. My mom says I have a good voice. Nanay mo lang. So you're bitter in soul and said, I'm not going to take part in this anymore. I'm wasting my time here. I have gifts. Why can't anyone see it? Oh. No, keep it. There's other things that you can volunteer. You can be an usher. You can be in the tech ministry. These are all ministries that we can be part of. If you have a nice smile, can I see your smiles? Yeah, see? Iba nakasimangot. It's okay. You can be an usher. Can you type? You can type. You can be part of the tech team. Imbis na yung pinapagalitan mo lang yung usher, imbis na yung napapansin mo yung tech team pag merong diferensya sa spelling, pag nakita, second Samuel daw, tapos biglang lyrics, mali. Be part of that. What if you be part of that? We always just notice the mistakes. We always, it's too cold, it's too hot. Someone's sitting on my favorite seat. We have all these things, but why don't you be used by God? God used these men. God used these men. Their great exploits are written all over the Bible. But they were just willing to serve David fully. Why? What was in them? They had the faith to serve. They had something in them that they were willing to do whatever it takes. Sana ganun din tayo sa church. Now, I'm saying that God can use you even though you're distressed. There may be a lot of stress in your life, but God can still use you. If you just humble yourself and come before Him. You may be in debt. You may be discontent with what's happening in our life. If God can use these men, He can use you too. Kung yun yung ginamit na Panginoon to encourage David and to be with David, God can use you as well. Here's a wonderful quote from Pastor Rick Warren. Sabi niya, God always uses imperfect people in imperfect situations to accomplish His perfect will. Here's the author of Purpose-Driven Life, sold millions of books. and brought millions into the knowledge of Jesus Christ. And it's so true. This statement, imperfect people, I relate to this. There's so many imperfections in my life, but God is still using me because I'm saying yes to Him. Imperfect situations, you may be in a most difficult situation right now. But those are the ingredients that God will use for His glory. Because guess what? With all of these imperfections and He still uses you, who gets the glory? Me? No, He does. Kasi kung tayo lang hindi natin kaya talaga eh. So what are the characteristics of these men? What do we see in their lives? What can we learn? And hopefully, knowing that you have imperfections and you know things are not perfect, you stutter. Okay, what are the things that we see in their lives? We see their faithfulness. They were faithful to David even if it meant they would get in trouble with the king. Sabi na, I'm going to be faithful to David. If Saul's trying to kill him, it's okay. I'm going to be faithful to him. And that faithfulness, being faithful to that task, especially faithful in God's task in our lives, will produce great results. That's true. That is so true for all of us. If we're just remain faithful in something. You know, I've shared that I was a swimmer at one time, 50 pounds ago. Some people argue 60. You know, and my lifelong goal, I shared this with a group. My lifelong goal when I was a young boy, I wanted to be in the Olympics. You know, from me deciding that when I was 8 years old, you know how many years it took before I got there? 12 years. And then another 4 years to be able to make my second Olympics. I was swimming for 16, 17 years to be able to reach my goal. It takes faithfulness. It takes time and just being there and practice even if you don't want to swim and having to wear those horrendous looking Speedos. But I was faithful in my Speedo. Don't imagine. Wala na picture. Hindi kayo maniniwala. But there's faithfulness involved. And because of that, I was able to reach it. Minsan hindi tayo faithful eh. May konting lang discomfort or konting parang, I don't like this anymore. I had teammates that were as good or maybe even better than me. But I was there because I continued in it. Some were not there because they didn't continue. And that's the only reason. All right, let's move on. Are you still with me? Yes. All right. In 2 Samuel, we'll read here. And David said longingly, "Oh, that someone would give me water to drink from the well of Bethlehem that is by the gate." Then the 3 men broke through the camp of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate. Very specific how they answered. And carried and brought it to David. No instruction from David. He was just said longingly, "Oh, I hope that someone would give me a drink." No instructions. "Oh, I hope someone would give me a drink." Just like this man of God. He had initiative. I had to say it 3 times. But he had initiative. There was no instruction on David in saying that. But when they heard it, that's how faithful they were. That's how they had initiative. What does he want? Oh, he wants water from that well? Let's go. 3 of them did that. They went. Thank you very much, my brother. It's nice having friends like that. May initiative, hindi mo kailangan sabihan. Lunch naman tayo. Parang, hindi. Sama na tayo. Yung pagdating pa lang nung bill, yung iba walang initiative, yung parang ang hirap lumabas ng wallet. Meron ba kayo nakasama gano'n? You know, I don't experience that in this church because we have a generous church. Unahan pa yan. I mean, with the businessman meetings that we have, it's just amazing. Nag-uunahan sila. Wala yung parang, mapupunit na yung pantalon para makalabas na yung wallet eh. But They had initiative. And we see that here in this church. We see that here in my brother. It's nice having friends that way. It's nice if we are that way to somebody else. Let that sink in for a moment. Let's move on. Then the three mighty men broke through the camp of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate and carried and brought it to David. Not only were they faithful, not only were they had initiative, they went behind enemy lines. It was a dangerous mission that was not even ordered to them. They were going to do and get the job done. That's tenacity right there. That's the description of it. Willingness to do whatever it takes. That's the motto of our kids' church. Whatever it takes to take care of your wonderful, smiling children. No fighting. Sweet, always generous, willing to share. How many am I describing your children? Okay, don't raise your hands as well. But we know that's something that we need to teach them. They had tenacity. They kept on in it. And we are volunteers here. They're still here. A lot of them have volunteered from the time that I know that we planted this church. And before that, they were volunteering in the other churches that we were part of. Some of them we have to push. No, go home. No, I want to help. I want to help. Some of you were just talking about this initiative and tenacity. Okay, I'm going to sign up already. Okay, you'll get your chance. But we have to understand why we are volunteering. Why are we doing this? Do you know that every time we are used of God in His service and we serve God, we become more like Him? That's the goal of our God. That's what the Father wants for us, is to be transformed into the image of His Son. And what does the Bible describe His Son as? In Matthew chapter 20, even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give His life as a ransom for many. Every time we serve God, we become more like Jesus. That's Jesus expressing Himself through your kindness to somebody else, through your service to somebody else. Every time I see, right now, those teachers taking care of our kids, the ushers, the tech team, they're expressing Jesus in their lives. There's nothing more exciting than that. That we're able to be used by God in the service of His kingdom. There's nothing greater. No matter what your insecurities are, no matter what distress you're in, no matter what it is, God will use you and we become more like Him. I just want to show you a video of our volunteers and how they feel about their volunteering in the church.
Hi, my name is Sam. I'm 9 years old and I volunteer in the music ministry.
Hi, my name is Verhel Dioco. I'm 42 years old. I'm working as a manager for Boys in Philippines Incorporated. I'm serving in the music ministry.
I'm Ian Concepcion. I'm 11 years old. I volunteer in the kids ministry.
Maxine, I am 19 years old. I volunteer in tech ministry.
Luke, and I'm the age of 9. I volunteer for the kids ministry.
I'm Jason Agustin. I'm 44 years old and I'm a volunteer for the ushering ministry.
Maria, I'm 10 years old and I volunteer in the music ministry.
I'm Jeric. I'm 46 years old from ushering ministry.
I am Michelle Ramos. I'm 27 years old and I'm working as workforce analyst in the BPO industry and I volunteer in kids church.
Virginia Abilita, 55 years old, ushering ministry.
I volunteer in church because I can serve God.
Because I want to encourage other kids.
Simplest way for me to serve God and serve our church.
I volunteer in kids church because I want to lead people to God.
I know that serving others would bring honor to God.
I look forward to volunteer in church because I can share the Word of God through singing.
So nice to see kids growing up loving Jesus and serving God as well.
Kaya ako nagbo-volunteer dahil yun yung nagbibigay sa akin ng lakas.
I feel I'm blessed and I'm used as a blessing.
To inspire the children.
Because it means that I'm following what God's calling me to do.
Yung pagbo-volunteer po, hindi po sa edad yan eh. Kahit na bata, matanda, kaya natin gawin to.
Kahit na nag-work ako at night, I still find joy in serving every Sunday.
Ang katwiran ko ba't hindi ako nagsiserve before was that I don't have time and that I am very busy. But when I took the call, when I said yes, Jesus made everything possible na eh. Schedules, appointments, everything.
Volunteering has helped my family grow spiritually as well.
It humbles me.
And I have to be a role model.
Volunteering has changed my life a lot kasi from just being a mere spectator, I became part of something big.
To all the adults and kids, I encourage you to volunteer in church because you get to meet more people, they'll be with you, and God has a plan for you then.
We encourage you to volunteer because
the family that serves the Lord together grows in faith together.
It's a great feeling to be able to be used by God in the calling and fulfilling the calling that He has in our lives. But let's look at the motive of why we're doing this. We want you to volunteer. I said that's my audacious faith. But why are we doing it? Is it because of the people up there? I mean, si MJ lang. That's a miracle in itself. A woman admitting that she's 44 years old. That's a miracle. We just witnessed one right there. But that's the heart of our volunteers. They're going to do whatever it takes, and they'll encourage you to be part of what we're doing. But let's look at this as we continue with the story. In 2 Samuel 23, verse 16. But he would not drink of it. He poured it out to the Lord and said, Far be it from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Shall I drink the blood of the men who went at the risk of their lives? Therefore, he would not drink it. When I saw that, I was like, why would he do that? What a waste. Naisip niyo rin ba yun? Ako lang. Baka ako lang. What a waste. If I was one of the mighty men that got that water, risked my life, and I bring it back to David, and then he goes and pours it out. Kapal. I've been sacrificing my life for you, and you're gonna do that? When I was experiencing it, kasi yun yung unang reaction ko, no? Kayo kasi mababait masyado. But that was my initial reaction. And then I was praying, and God spoke to me. There's something about David. What is it about David that you can learn from this? And when I looked at it again, it gave me a glimpse of the heart of David. The heart that is described in the Bible as a man after my own heart. Here's the difference. Here's why I believe David did that. He knew that type of devotion and commitment, he's not worthy for that. He's not worthy of the commitment and devotion that these men showed him. But he knew who was worthy of it. Who did he offer it to? He poured it out to the Lord. That type of devotion and commitment has to be given to him who is worthy of it. And David knew he was not. David knew that the worship and the worthiness and the devotion has to be given to God. We want you to volunteer. Not because you like Pastor Dennis or me or you love the church. We want you to serve because you love God. That's your sign of worship to Him. Because of everything that He's done for you. That His love for you and what He's expressed in your life. Lord, sige. Here I am, use me. Whatever it is that you want me to do, I'm going to be part of this great thing because I want to worship you. So was David's act a waste? No, it was not. Because anything that we do in faith to serve our King will never be a waste. Us taking care of those children, us setting up the room, us clicking, us taking pictures, all of us being part of what we're doing here is never a waste. Because it brings glory and honor to God. Who deserves it? Ibang klase, no? Nung nakita ko yan, parang, kaya pala siya mahal ng Panginoon. He had the right motive. And for his men, when they poured it out and he said that, they learned as well. Okay, I'm doing this for God. I'm not doing it for man. So as we encourage you to volunteer, and I'm going to show you a video, another video right now, of the different ministries that you can be involved in here. There's a lot. And with the big vision that we have, we need more people to get involved. With this last text, I just want to remind all of us, we are serving the Lord and not man. All right? Because we can force you to do things. I mean, I'm forceful enough, and I can go around the room and, I want you. You volunteer. Okay? Or Pastor Dennis can come here and do the same thing. But it's not the point. The point is for us to realize that God has been so faithful, has been so good in our lives, that what we have opportunity now to do something for Him. Right? And our salvation, it's a free gift. We do not earn our salvation. We do not work for it. But here's a part that we can, in spite of who we are, we can come to God and say, Lord, sige, gamitin mo ako dito. I'll give my time once a month lang. Once a month, and I can participate in this great thing that you're doing in our city. A great thing that you're doing in a church, and that's impacting not just our nation, but the nations around the world. This morning, at the 9 o'clock service, we had about 20 of our missionaries that are in the School of World Missions here. And it was just a wonderful time being with them and being able to share with them. What we're doing here is not just impacting San Juan or just Greenhills. It's impacting the world. And whatever it is, the small things that we do today has an impact in the nations. Right? So my challenge for all of us, let's get involved in this.